let's say I want to create a new Azure virtual machine. This is automatically notification tells us my remaining credit. So yesterday we discussed about subscriptions, resource groups, the hierarchical structure of the Azure resources, management groups, subscriptions, resource groups, and resources, right? So name of the VM, let's say I'm going to create paper life test VM. That is the name, right? I'm going to create this VM, paper life test VM. I'm just creating one VM for testing purpose, right? Let's say if I'm going to create Ubuntu based VM, I can give Ubuntu 22.04, right? So it means I'm going to use Ubuntu 22.04, means it's a Linux based VM. If it is Windows, I can say Win 19 or Win 22, something like that. Region, by default it's selected Central US. You can change it, let it be the same Central US.
Suppose
availability.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Suppose if I don't know the abbreviation, then how shall I write? Like U2204. I don't know what is U22. So how can I trace
U2204, we created so many VMs earlier, na?
Yeah, I know that. But probably if I want to go for upgraded version or latest version, how to get like in
that will not make a difference. Currently, what is the version you're going to install, or if you not specifically want to mention version, you can even say Ubuntu. That's fine, right? It's not hard and fast rule. You can even remove it, but the other person, if they read the name, he will, by just reading the name, he can tell what is the operating system installed on this VM.
And what is it?
If you don't
Visual
give
Studio Enterprise subscription, like is that can be changeable or it will be remain like that?
So yesterday you attended my session.
Yes.
Okay, so we discussed about that. Whenever you create a new account, you will all get the free subscription with the name of free trial or free subscription, right? After 1 month, it will ask you to convert to pay as you go subscription, right? Visual Studio is for me because I'm the Microsoft certified trainer MCT, and I have been given this subscription, and for which approximately 12,000 rupees are credited every month to my account under this subscription, Visual Studio, right? So I'm using this being a trainer, right? You guys will not have it. Either you will have free trial or you will have pay as you go. Okay. So this is for the certified trainers. Microsoft gives this certification or this subscription. Every month it will be renewed with some credit of around 12,000 rupees. Okay. So that's why I'm using this subscription. I can go back and change this also, but for this I have to pay, right, as per my uses. But this one, it will be deducted from my available credit. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Availability options, I will say no infrastructure redundancy as of now. I will discuss about it later. I don't want any redundancy, so I say no. Right, security type, no need to change. Let's say I go with standard security. I don't need a high-end security. Since I mentioned U2204 here, it will take Ubuntu 22 or Ubuntu is there, right? I can select any one. Ubuntu 2404 is also there in the market, right? So that's the latest one. Which one we want? Ubuntu 22.04. This is the operating system, right? Now from where it is coming, you need not to worry about it because this is being provided by Microsoft. From where we installed this, we pulled it from which location in case of Oracle VirtualBox. From where we got this image, just like this image being provided by Microsoft. In our virtual environment, from where we pulled this Ubuntu 22.04. When we say Vagrant up, does it download this image from somewhere? It download from
Downloads from the
Vagrant
Vagrant website.
Vagrant Cloud, yes, Vagrant Cloud website, right? It download from Vagrant Cloud website. If you say Ubuntu 22.04 Vagrant Cloud, so from here it down. You see that this is the name we had, bento slash Ubuntu 22.04. It's downloading from here. This is the website for Vagrant Cloud, right? So see here, this is the website for Vagrant, portal.cloud.hashicorp.com/vagrant, right? So when you say Vagrant up, it will start downloading the Vagrant file from here, Ubuntu 22.04 image from here. But here we need not to worry about it. We just need to specify the image. We need to select. If we want Windows operating system, it provides you the Windows servers also, Windows 22, Windows 19, Windows 2016, right? It also provides you SUSE Linux. It also provides you Red Hat Linux, right? So multiple options are there. If you want to see all the images, it will show you the list of all the available images here. See there? Windows Server, Windows 11, Windows 10, Ubuntu 22.04, Ubuntu Server 20.04, and so on, right? So many options are there. From the marketplace, you can select it. Okay, I close it. I want Ubuntu 22.04. Clear? And what is the architecture of your VM? Let it be x64. We are using x64 instead of ARM64. This is the processor architecture type. Now here is important. What is the size of this VM? This is what we were discussing in our presentation. Here D2S V3. It's a standard D2S V3. It uses 2 CPUs and 8 GB RAM. Its approximate cost per month will be around 6,680 rupees per month. If I keep running this VM 24/7 for 1 month, I have to pay this much amount. Means I don't shut down this VM for 1 month. It is keep running, this much cost I have to pay. And this is a very cheap because no one uses this 24/7 for 30 days, right? If I just run it for 1 hour, it will, once I create it, it will tell me my hourly cost, how much I have to pay for 1 hour. Okay, so this is my monthly cost. You see that D2, B1, B2. So these are the different categories, right? Which I discussed about it, right? B category, D category, or F, E, L, right? So these are all standards, right? If I wanted to see all the sizes, click on this. It will show me all the available sizes. If you scroll down, it will tell that which series you are interested in. D series, B series, E series, right? It will tell us that E series is mainly for high memory, right? That's what we discussed. E series for high memory optimized, right? So you need not to remember it. It will show you E series is for high memory. L series is for high throughput. D series is for third generation general purpose, right? And so on. So accordingly you can select it. So here you see that if you go with a very high-end machines, let's say I go with this machine, D16 V3, it's a general purpose, 16 CPUs, 64 GB RAM, right? So this is a very costly one, right? If I select it, you see that it's 53,000 rupees. So if I use this, I have to pay 53,000 rupees per month because it's having 16 CPUs, 64 GB RAM, very high configuration, right? I don't want that. In case of free tier, it's a B series. You see that B1 is basically used for free purpose. This is approximately cost 759 rupees per month. One CPU, 1 GB RAM. Right. There will be also some free tier also, which will be having a very minimal cost. So B series is one of the cheapest one. You see that one CPU, 1 GB RAM, one CPU, half GB RAM, right? But they are very slow machines. But if you are doing some basic stuff, you can use B series, right? And these are different categories. So let's go with our D series. The default one which we are using, D2, D3, right? So this is what we initially chosen. 2 CPUs, 8 GB RAM. Okay,
So,
you can select any.
sorry
Yeah,
for them. So, as in Vagrant, we have like assigned 2 GB RAM and 2 CPUs. So here there is no option like 2 CPUs and 2 GB of RAM. Like that is also
there
working good on our
there
VM.
will be na. There will be. It's not possible that it's not there. Right? But if you are assigning let's say two virtual machines and 2 GB RAM, right? So you can do that. Let's say uh, two CPUs, they have giving you 4 GB RAM, right? One CPU they are giving 2 GB RAM, right? So you can see the approximately if 2 CPU, I think we can. This is the best one, 4 GB RAM at least, right? So 2
It's
CPU.
8 GB RAM.
1 minute, let me go back. 2 CPU 8 GB RAM, 2 CPU 4 GB RAM. So this is the
Okay.
best one. Right? So this is approximately half the cost because now the RAM is 50%. So instead of 6600, it is approximately 3000 per month.
And this will be
Okay.
enough, right?
Yeah, this is enough. Okay, so let's go with this. No problem. So this is the size. Now, when you create the VM, you can have two options. Either you can go with SSH keys or you can go with the password. If you are going to create the VMs in AWS, the Linux based VMs, they don't give you the option of username password. You have to use the SSH keys. If you have those who have created the EC2 instances in AWS, they know that for Linux based, they don't give you username password. You always need to choose the SSH keys. But in Windows, in Azure, you will be giving both options. Either it is a Linux based VM or Windows based VM. But in AWS, only for Windows based VM you have username password, but for Linux based VM you have to go by SSH keys only, right? But Azure gives you both options, SSH keys and or password option. So let's go with the password option. Then it will ask you to provide some username password, right? Let's say I give the username Azure user and assign some password. Okay, so I have given the username password. This will be required when I log into this VM. Okay, understood so far? And when I given this name, by default it has automatically taken the resource group name. Whatever the VM name I given, underscore group at the last it has taken. You can change this name, right? Let's say if I don't want underscore group, I can say hyphen RG. You can either name use the abbreviation RG for resource group or group, whatever you want. So I keep the same VM name. At last I appended RG, means resource group. So this is the resource group for my this VM. This is my subscription, resource group name, VM name, region, no availability options, standard security, Ubuntu 22.04 is the image type, size architecture is x64, size is 2 CPUs, 4 GB RAM, and username passwords. So these are the basic details. You see that? Basic. So basic details. If you miss anything, it will give you in red color and it will not allow you to create. It will ask you are missing some basic configuration. Please complete it. Inbound port. By default, port number 22 is enabled. You can add any port at this point of time or you can add those port later also. Let's stick to this default port 22. If you say next, then it comes to the next tab, disks. That is the disks means sizes. What should be the hard disk attached to this VM? By default, 30 GB of hard disk will be attached. You can go and change anytime, but we don't change anything here. Let it be the default one. What is the type of disk? Premium SSD.
I have a question. So if we change the hard drive capacity, then the price will also increase.
Which capacity?
This 30 GB, right?
Yeah.
So the price will also.
It varies. Yes. So this is how much. So this is the storage part, right? It will be attached. The first was the computation part. This is the storage part, right? So this attaching the disk is independent of the state of the VM, whether VM is running or stopped. This, if you attach larger disk, the storage part of this price will be charged every time, because irrespective of your VM is running or not, if you are attaching some image, it will be charged because you are utilizing this space, right? So, but disk is not so costly as compared to computation, right? So it won't vary, but type of disk varies, right? Premium SSD is the costliest one, then standard SSD, and if I am not need high performance, I can switch back to standard SSD, right? So standard SSD is having the availability of 99.9%. Yesterday we discussed about it. SLA's availability 99.9%. If I go with premium SSD, right, this will having little more availability, right? This is better performance as compared to standard HDD is very low performance. You see that this is comparatively slow.
Sorry to disturb. It will not display the charges for 30 GB this much, for SSD this much, and for premium this much. It will not display the amount, right?
No, it's not displaying it here, right? So because this is independent of the computation. It's a category, right? Basics, disks, networking, right? So here it will, at the end, it will calculate the total including disk, right? But here it's not displaying what are the charges for this one, right? So it's not displayed here.
Okay.
Right. So let's go with the standard SSD, right? That is locally redundant. Means I don't want any redundancy. So if I go back to my presentation, now we are discussing about storage, right? So here, this is what we are discussing. Whenever you create the VM, you are attaching some storage, whether it's a standard SSD or premium SSD, right? You see that standard HDD, standard SSD, premium SSD, right? So what kind of storage you are going to attach, right? So it's a operating system disk, hard disk, which is used to store the data, right? Now this disk can be a managed disk or unmanaged disk. What is the difference between managed disk and unmanaged disk? Managed, by default, it is a managed disk, means it is managed by Microsoft. If you say unmanaged disk, you can attach your own disk, right? Like create and attach a new disk, attach an existing disk. Means if you have some existing disk, you can go and attach it. Right? So that is unmanaged, but we don't want, right? If we go to advanced option, right? Here you can use the managed, use the managed disks, right? It is selected. Right? If you don't want managed disks, you can use your own disks, but usually we don't prefer. Who will manage those disks, right? No one has that much bandwidth, or we don't want to put efforts to manage the disks automatically, right? So we stick with managed disks so that they are managed by Microsoft instead of we manage our own disks. So if we go with the default settings, we can only change disk type. We selected standard HDD, right? Next is networking. Anything I told you that we go with the default networking. In networking, we need some virtual network name. We need some subnet. It is IP range 10.0.0.0/24. Do you want to assign public IP? Right? So public IP will also be automatically taken and assigned to it. It's a dynamic IP, right? So the networking as of now. Okay, so go to the next part. After networking, there's a management. We don't change anything at management. Here also monitoring. If you want monitoring, you can enable it. If you don't want, you can disable it. We also don't change, let it be default one. In advanced also we don't change anything. Tags we also don't change anything. So mainly we change in the basics and nothing else. You can go with the default with the rest, or at most you can change the disk from premium to standard, and that's it, right? And then at last, review and create is with a summary. Now there is a problem here in the disk part, right? So in this part there is some problem that I selected this, but I have not given some value, so I need to delete that. Because I clicked on attach existing disk, right? So I have not given some value, so I deleted that. Review and create. Now it will calculate my hourly cost. So you see that I have to spend approximately 4 rupees per hour for this VM. Very, very cheap, right? Just I need to spend 4 rupees for this VM if I'm using it for 1 hour. Isn't it cheap? Right? So if I even, let's say in a day I use it for 4 hours, I will be hardly spending 16, 17 rupees. That's it. If I use it complete one day, 24 hours, even then less than 100 rupees I will be spending. And what was the 100 rupees per day? Monthly to approximately 3000 rupees. Right? That's what it has given me the cost initially. Right? You remember that 3000 rupees per month? Because we are using 2 CPUs, 4 GB RAM. Okay. This is the configuration. This is my username. This is my standard security type. This is my image type. This is the name of my virtual machine. This is the region. No redundancy, right? And this is the subscription name. This is the resource group name. That's it. And this is the configuration. 2 CPUs, 4 GB RAM. Disk is standard disk. So you see that disk, it has not, the charges are very, very negligible. Means disk doesn't matter much, right? So that's why it's not calculated, given you the prices of the disk. This is negligible as compared to the compute or the basic configuration. So it is approximately 0, right? So it doesn't matter much unless you are using a very high-end disks or a very large amount of storage, right? So it's not impacting much. What matters most is the image type and size. Clear? Okay, so this is the complete configuration. If you are agree with this configuration, create this VM. If you want to change, go back to previous, change it, and again click on create. So when I say validation is passed, means all my configurations settings are correct. Now it started creating my VM, initializing deployment, submitting the deployment, and will create my VM within a minute.